If you're going to raise money, people have to know you're looking to raise money. You can't be the secret agent and nobody knows what it is that you do. But the question is, how do you do that without coming away like reeking of desperation or being salesy or trying to close and do all this typical like sales kind of stuff that most people can't stand?
Welcome to Real Estate Hacking Live. All right, how's everyone doing this evening? Want to talk about some real estate, raising money, affordable housing, mobile home parks? Well, my name is Chris Bounds, your host and co-founder of Invested Agents. My co-founder, Jamie, also my beautiful wife. She's out there in the back. Hopefully you got a chance to meet her. Who's her speaker? Our guest, Brant Phillips. He's a real estate investor, entrepreneur, business coach, and best-selling author. He began his investing career many years ago, living in an apartment. He's since flipped over 300 houses. That's probably outdated by now. And his experience spans house flipping, mobile home parks, construction, land development, property management, fundraising, and a bunch of other stuff. His company, Invest Home Pro, was recognized by Inc. 5000 as one of America's fastest growing privately owned companies. Let's give it up for Brant Phillips. How you doing, Brant?
Thank you.
Good, man.
Been a while.
Been a while. You remember coming out to Rudy's, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Glad we were able to, I know you keep your nose at the grindstone out there doing deals, so appreciate you coming out and talking about raising money and affordable housing. You think those are two relevant issues to real estate investors right now? Raising money and affordable housing. How much
does affordable housing even exist? That's the real question.
Depends on where you live, I suppose.
We might have to change that terminology.
Yeah, slightly more affordable than it used to be, or I don't know, compared to everything else out there. All right, let's look at a little picture here. Look at that. That's like a heat map, little dotted map of transactions you've done over the years. So that's 300 or so, right?
That's about 500 when you zoom
You got to zoom in.
Yeah,
you're probably taking down several
neighborhoods.
Yeah, it's
a little shortcut. Yeah, we had one of my assistants. I forget what we're doing, and we're going through lists. I'm like, put that on a heat map, and we're targeting some properties that we're under contract, all that kind of stuff. And she threw it almost everyone on there, and there's some out of state and other deals that we've done that we could get a screenshot of. I'm like, holy crap, it's a lot of properties. But it just starts with one, It just starts with one, because when I started, Chris touched on, like, I didn't know anything. Dead broke, living in an apartment, ground zero, no business experience, broke, hated my job, and here we are now. 500 plus, we've kind of lost count, but yeah, a lot of deals.
You remember this deal?
Yeah.
This one ring any bells?
Yeah, that was we flipped. That was a flip we did last year.
So you're still able to do deals in this market?
Oh yeah. And then the interesting thing about the previous slide, you don't have to go back to it, but 99%, maybe 98%, because in the beginning, my first year, I'd utilized a few banks. All of the deals that we've done, 500 plus, the initial acquisition, all with private money. With the exception of my first 2 years, I did about 25 to 30 deals with hard money originally, and then we refinanced. Since that point in time, private money. We've gone with a couple of banks initially. We actually bought a park initially with financing, but that's all private money for the most part.
Just to kind of make sure we're all on the same page with private money. Like, what is private money? What is a private money lender?
Yeah, so a private money lender is essentially like a bank, like a hard money lender, but they're just an individual. Okay, so they're going to loan you X amount of dollars with a certain agreement. It's quasi hard money. It's very, very similar structure. Typically, the rates are a little bit more favorable to us as a borrower. Not all the times. There's private lenders that, same rates and fees as a hard money lender, but there's usually some flexibility that you can get in maybe the way that payments are structured. Maybe you have accrued interest. Maybe you don't pay any points. Maybe you have delayed points. Depends, but there's typically a little less structure than a hard money lender, right? Or in a bank for sure.
So it's an individual person that has money in their bank account, in their savings account, in maybe an IRA account that, hey, I like you, I like this deal, I'm going to loan you money on that deal, right?
Yeah, and typically, 60% of our hard money capital does come from self-directed IRAs. Like a small majority of it is a small majority, and then minority of that is cash. But most of it comes from self-directed IRAs.
Okay, and I do want to differentiate. So we have private money lender, but there's also a private investor, someone who may be investing, say, in like a syndication. Because we'll get more into that later on. But what's the difference between a private money lender and, say, like a private investor that would be investing in like a syndication?
Yeah, so a lender is basically look at them like a bank. Okay, it is a source of capital for your deals. Okay, but it's heavy relationship based. It's based on the asset as well, but that relationship is extremely important in that relationship, along with the asset. And then there's, I don't know how far you want to go right now, like into syndications and funds, but there's other ways to structure these deals. Like we do occasionally. We do equity participation mortgages with our lenders. So we've done this like in times where maybe there's a little less certainty in the market, and we want to safeguard some of our risk, fully disclosing that to our investor/lender, but also sharing some of the upside with them. So we just finished an equity participation deal. And we were doing a lot of these to jump back right after Hurricane Harvey. Because after Hurricane Harvey hit Houston, and we're getting flooded with like high-end homes in Memorial and Fleetwood and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I invest in medium price housing and below. We don't do a whole lot of, flipping $1 million houses and stuff like that, but we were just getting some incredible deals. And so we just figured out a way, like, how can we take these deals down and safeguard our risk? And so the way we did it was with equity participation mortgages. And short summary is that rather than paying these lenders, say, 8, 10, or 12% interest, we'd pay them maybe 3 or 4% interest, okay? 3 or 4% interest in case we had to rent that property and wouldn't sell right away. We need to make sure we could at least break even or have a little bit of cash flow. And they're getting some type of return on their money. And then whenever we eventually sell that property, it could be quick, it could be long term, then they're getting they're getting some equity in that deal as well, so they can get, at least double-digit returns on their money, most likely. But then if everything went wrong, hey, at least they're getting 3 to 5% return, right? But they want to invest a little bit on the upside of that, if that makes sense. So the cool thing about private lending is a lot of times, like, I always say this is, most of my private lenders are really like, they've become friends, and they're partnerships, even though they are a lender lending to me with like a mortgage and a deed of trust. They're relationships, and so there's some flexibility in there in how you do deals.
100%. I'm sure you're working with an attorney to draw up these documents. It's definitely very important, especially when you're dealing with equity and stuff like that, because there's some things that you want to make sure that you do, and some things you want to make sure you don't do, and things you say and things you don't say to keep everyone from getting in trouble, right?
Yeah, and I want to kind of take a step back a little bit, because one of the most important things is when, if you're investing and you want to, obviously you want to do deals, and you want to get, your job as an investor is to, two main jobs, find good deals and raise money. And you want to raise money at the lowest cost that you can. And that's your financial responsibility as CEO of your company. That being said, I strongly encourage new investors to make sure that you are, have the proper experience before you begin raising money. And so my path was doing 25, 30 deals with hard money before I went into raising private money. I'm not saying you have to do 25 or 30 deals, but I think you should have some. some experience, or some really, really good coaching and mentorship before you go into raising money for private capital. Because we've both seen just some really, really, really bad things occur with newbie investors and newbie private lenders. It can get really ugly really, really quick. And that's a lot. That's if you put the cart before the horse, so to speak, and you do some bad deals in the beginning with private lender, word gets around quick, and you just never want to be in that situation. You never want to be in that situation, first off. And so the way you do that is go a little bit slower than you may want to go. And, one thing I tell people, well, I'll pause because I'm going to jump ahead to some other questions. But
so like you, I used hard money for my first deals, and Jet Lending, they funded several of Jamie and I's first deals in Houston, and having gone through that success and doing those deals, now I had a portfolio, and it was a small portfolio at the time, but I had a portfolio of successful transactions that I could then take before and after pictures and numbers and put together and show a private money lender, or at least a prospective private money lender, hey, look, this is the kind of stuff we're doing. Does this kind of stuff interest you? Would you might want to consider loaning on our next deal? That kind of thing. It not only does it help expedite the relationship building process and helps with your credibility, but also from a worst case scenario, like obviously you always want to pay your loans back, but I think we can all agree that there's a difference between hard money lender and a individual private money lender that has worked for 30 years to save this little nest egg that they have in our IRA. Like the impact's very, very different. So always borrow money diligently, but you want to take care of them, your private money lenders, very well. And jumped ahead there. I don't know, anything else you want to add there?
Yeah, dude, I could talk about this all night long. So one thing that brings to mind is, when I was doing these deals in hard money and that was working out good. And then I'm like, well, I didn't even know private money existed. So then I learned about private money. I'm like, man, that could be really great. Save some money and, have some flexibility. So I began talking to private lenders and began to get some yeses. And I felt, good about it, but also felt the weight of the world on my shoulders. And I remember, coming home one night and telling my wife, I'm like, I've got, a couple lenders that want to invest with me. And she's like, that's great. And I'm like, it's great, but I have this heaviness of like, man, it's a lot of responsibility. And I remember telling her this. I was like, I'm going to go full bore. And this was 2009. Okay. So this is like middle of 2009, where it's a little bit of a scary market, right? It was very scary, to be quite honest with you, because you're seeing all this doom and gloom and foreclosures everywhere. I'm like, man, what if this goes wrong? And I remember telling my wife, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go for it. And I told her, I said, if something goes wrong, plans don't work out the way that I think they are, I'm like, my lenders are going to get paid no matter what. We'll live on the streets. We'll sell everything. My lenders are going to get paid. So I'm just like letting you know that if I start borrowing this money, that's the commitment.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, of course. And so you fast forward to today, and I could say, hey, we've done 500 something deals or whatever. Woohoo, that's wonderful. There's guys that have done a lot more than me, so I'm not bragging about that. And not, I don't want to brag or boast, but one thing that I am very proud of is starting with a credit card that I borrowed against, not knowing anything and not being the sharpest guy in the room, barely getting out of high school, that after 500 plus deals, we've kept a perfect record, okay, with our loan performance with our lenders. And what I think is the most important thing is just that commitment that you have with an investor, meaning not just saying it, but actually doing it, because they can feel that, okay? They can sense that in what your commitment level is. I had a borrower call me. I do some private lending myself on a small scale. And once you learn more about the numbers, like, this is a pretty good business model. And so we lend on a small scale. And I had someone reach out to me about doing a loan. And it was a mutual friend of ours. Went to a mutual church of ours in the past, and wanted to do a loan. I'm like, that'd be great. Tell me about the deal and this and this and that. So we started talking. And yeah, it sounds good. Known this person for a long, long time. Random conversation with another friend, and that person's name came up, and he's like, "Ooh, did you hear about her, her deal or one of her other deals?" And I'm like, "No, should I know about this?" So, long story short, she was currently getting foreclosed on another investment property. Okay, this was someone who was like wholesaling and had just kind of started doing a few flips or whatnot. And so I was like, they left that information out of the conversation. So I called them, "Hey, need to talk to you about something that I heard. I just want to make sure this is true. What's going on? Maybe it's not true." And did deny it. "Oh yeah. Uh-huh. Oh, I got involved." This was their response was, "Yeah, that deal was really stressing me out, and it was just causing me a lot of stress, so I decided not to move forward on it." So not only did they not even have that conversation with the lender, they could have done a deed in lieu. They could have just worked the deal out. It was just stressful for them. And so they just said, "No, I'm done. I'm going to walk away." And then they just had this naivete or ego to be like, "So, is that okay? Are we still going to do this other deal?" And in my nicest way, hell no. Are you crazy?
I don't think so.
Are you crazy? So there's people like that. If you're listening, you're a private lender, think about being a private lender. Like, there's people like that. And this is a successful person in our market. So there's people like that out there. And here's the thing, whether you're just getting started in this business for a while, if you haven't gone through some rough patches in real estate, guess what you're going to go through? You're going to go through rough patches. Okay. We've all heard 9 out of 10 businesses fail. To be quite honest, it's probably true for real estate investors. Guys who go like full-time, guys or girls who go full-time, it's probably a similar statistic. And I'm not trying to discourage you guys. I'm just trying to tell you, like, be prepared to go through some rough patches, and your commitment level combined with your business model is what's going to get you through this. Okay. This is incredibly, incredibly important.
Yeah, I always say, like, when before we're going to work with someone or loan money, one of the things that I look for is they have a brand they're willing to protect. Because someone who's willing to, I'm just kind of tired of that deal. That's on the lowest end of that scale. I want someone on the highest end of the scale where they're gonna, not steal, but they're gonna do everything they can and wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, go to bed at 11 to get out there and like take second jobs, work Uber, or whatever, to work the deal out. Because I know there are issues in real estate. I know things happen, and I've got loans out too that are a little stressful. But I have a tale of two loans. One where they basically ghosted us until we filed foreclosure on them and called us 2 days before the sale. And then another one where they're continuously updating us via text and email and letting us know what's going on. So both similar-ish type situations, completely different engagement. And you can obviously guess like which one we haven't filed foreclosure on. We're like willing to work with them because they're actually communicating and sending in documents. So we know private money lenders can be a great asset. Where do you find them? Like, where, if you want to go out and raise some money, private money lenders, and start meeting these folks and building the relationship, where would you go? How would you find them?
Yeah. So I always say they're hiding in plain sight. You never know where they're going to be. There's probably some in this room. They're, of course, at networking events. They may be at work, you know, wherever at your workplace. They could be at your church. They could be at, you know, the base your kid's ball game. You could be your next door neighbor. I think I've had lenders from all those scenarios, to be quite honest with you. So they're hiding in plain sight. Okay, you don't realize it. And I don't want to hop to the next question, but I kind of want to hop to the next question because they tie together. But they are in the typically the expected places that you would maybe expect them to be. Meaning you go to like a real estate conference or, you know, a self-directed IRA event like a Quest IRA event, or get the new name. You go to an event like that, they're going to be there. And then they're also in unexpected places. Just I've had random conversations with people, things come up, and just, you know, when they find out what you do, it strikes a chord. Here's the thing, like I found almost everybody wants to invest in real estate. Everybody knows, like for the most part, whether they know a lot about it or a little about it, that real estate's a good investment. However, majority of people don't want to do what we as investors do. So when they find out there's a way that they can do it passively and watch from the sidelines and live vicariously through what you do, they love it.
I call it outsourcing the headaches. So if you don't want to be the person going out there in flea-infested, flooded, moldy homes with maybe a squatter in there that has a baseball bat and is not happy with you walking around their hole, like you can outsource that to someone like us, and we'll go do all that stuff and just send you a check. Not even a check, an ACH. So, yeah. I mean, go where people with money go. If people with money go to places, go hang out there. And it doesn't have to be the exotic car dealership. Could be a good place. Doesn't have to be the suite of the Texans. Also could be a good place and probably fun too. But there's also a lot of folks, most of my private lenders are not what you would probably call rich or accredited investors. Most of them might actually have been non-accredited. They're just folks that have been blue-collar workers or nice white-collar jobs, very consistent over their career. They just got a little nest egg, and they're just trying to keep out of the stock market and into other investments. So how would you attract them?
Yeah, so that's the key word to that question, right? Is like attract. And when it comes to raising money, the word attraction is so important. So one of my biggest things is like when it came to actually raising money was when I started knowing that, like, hey, I need to raise money, the thought of like basically taking on a sales role, I was like, I hated that. And I was in sales for a brief period of time before. I was in law enforcement and I went into sales. I'm like, oh, this is horrible. And I just made the best of it. But I was like, well, I'm just going to try to help these people. Help and serve, help and serve, help and serve, help and serve. And so that was my philosophy with raising money. So what that really came down to is this, is if you're going to raise money, one, people have to know you're looking to raise money, because you can't be, like the secret agent and nobody knows what it is that you do. Like, you have to let people know that you're looking to raise money. But the question is, how do you do that without coming away like being like reeking of desperation, all right, or being salesy or trying to close and do all this typical like sales kind of stuff that most people can't stand. Or, like I just can't stand it. So it was like, how do we do that? So me and a friend of mine were collaborating, like, man, how do we do this? And he was kind of like a marketing genius and a great mind, and we collaborated a lot. And I used to steal his ideas or borrow them that he would share with me. And it was just like, look, what can we, one, legally do? So we were like making sure there's this, organization called the SEC. So we want to make sure that we were compliant with them. We actually met with an SEC attorney, like, we want to raise money. What can we do? And I'm like, well, you can educate people all day long. There you go. And that was our strategy, really. Was like, we just want to educate people about private lending, how it works, that it even exists, because a lot of people didn't know it exists, how to safeguard themselves, how to analyze deals, how to analyze borrowers. So I would just speak and talk a lot about like, hey, here's what you need to do if you're looking at private lending, safeguard yourself. Here's how you analyze deals. Here's how you estimate repairs. Here's how you look for this, look for that. We just taught people, how to help themselves if they were looking at doing it, and inevitably it led to conversations about, can I invest with you? And I was like, yes, you can. That would be wonderful. And so it just opened up conversations. And so that has really been my philosophy when it comes to investing in terms of our marketing. We're not a big like cold call, text, all that kind of direct, like hitting them. We do a lot of like SEO, organic content, and so that motivated sellers reach out to us. That's kind of the law of attraction I've always liked when it comes to marketing. Like, I like people coming to me and saying, hey, can you help me with this thing? Absolutely. Versus me knocking on their door, trying to sell them. So that's always been our strategy, is like educate. And that's why I wrote, the private lender playbook was just, here's a book so people could read whether they come invest with us or not, but like to safeguard themselves about it. And if you do that and like you just go on with the mindset of really helping people to understand, that's typically going to be way better than you going out and trying to raise money and close people. And I see it going on when I was speaking at Quest events in the beginning, and there's just like some cheesy people up there trying to pitch a deal, and they just, honestly, like, so they would be these small events, people up there and they've got a deal and they're trying to raise money, and they just reeked of desperation. And I probably reeked of desperation too. I just didn't want that to put out that vibe, right? So rather than trying to pitch a deal or whatever, I talk to people, say, here's what we do, here's how it works. If you want to schedule a time to call or me, I'd love to explain it to you if you want to talk more. So we just be very, very nonchalant, right? And that's just always been my strategy.
100%. Yeah, my strategy, very similar to that, is my natural sales cycle is I just want to. I prefer to attract as opposed to being like a hunter going out there seeking the sales kill. So what I would do, like you were talking about, when you go to networking events and you through conversation talking with someone, you're realizing that, hey, they do some private money lending, like the natural instinct for especially newer investors is to vomit a deal. Like, ooh, someone's got money. Hey, do you want to loan money on this? And instantly, like you said, it's desperation. Their guard goes up. They're they don't really even know you. Guard goes up. Bad way to start that relationship. And even on a best case scenario, the likelihood that they would loan money on you on a deal, on a very specific deal that you just introduced to them, very, very low. And that's even if they're somewhat familiar with what you do and they're active, pretty smart and actively engaged. So my strategy was always talking with them, figuring out what they do, what they've loaned on before, what kind of deals they really like, what kind of deals they hate. Are they okay with $100,000 rehabs, or do they like more the paint and carpet type $30,000 lipstick on a pig? So figure out what they're interested in, then you can go into that 60-second, well, hey, this is what we do. We flip, this many houses, usually in this area. This is kind of what we're mainly flippers. Occasionally we have some rentals. All of our and this was the key phrase I would use. All of our deals are funded right now, but if you like, the next time one comes up, I can send it your way and just see what you think. They'll always say yes. And then I would take it one step further. Actually, there's a couple deals that we've already done. I could send you over the executive summary just so you can get a good idea of the types of deals we do and the numbers and how everything played out. Would you like me to send that over? 100% yes. But now they got to give you their email and phone number. And that's where the relationship starts building. I didn't pitch them anything. I actually asked them if they wanted something from me, said yes. And now I can send them a prior deal. They can look at it, and then I'll start following up. And typically it would take 3 to 5 deals after that before they would even start to really get interested in loaning the deal. Most never would, but some did. And when you do that consistently, going to these events and talking with folks, it you only need 3 to 5 private lenders, really.
Yeah.
Unless you're just doing massive amount of volume. 3 to 5 private money lenders can make you very, very wealthy.
Yeah. It reminds me of a story. So 100% everything you said. And that's typically like if you're having a conversation with the lender, you don't need to talk. You need to talk very little about your deals and about yourself. And you just need to ask a lot of open-ended questions and find out things about them. What are their fears? What are their goals? Things like that. And so many years ago, we put a application essentially on our website where we raise capital, and we began asking private lenders to fill out an application. And first the thought was, well, one, it was like we wanted to make sure it was a good fit because we started getting a good amount of private lenders, and two was like we wanted, honestly, like we wanted to differentiate ourselves. Because I'm competing with some of these guys that seem very, very desperate. I don't think that's given private lenders a very good experience. So we asked them to start filling out a form. Like you go to a bank, what do? You fill out a form, you give information. So we started doing that. So there's a psychological aspect where they feel like, hey, this is a professional company. This is a professional process. So we started doing that. And a lot of the questions like really just screening them, making sure it was a good fit. Because if we're far off on rates, or certain lenders have certain risk thresholds than other lenders, like it may not be a good fit. So the form was good for that. And then just kind of screen them and setting up a phone call. And so like Chris mentioned, like 100% you guys need to do this. Raise the money is just start building a list, name, phone numbers, and emails. And then you need to start cultivating a relationship with them, because like any sales cycle, marketing and sales cycle, if you need to close a deal today, and you've spoken to a lender once or twice, good luck with that, right? It's like, when's the best time to plant a tree? When's the best time to start cultivating a relationship with a lender? Long time ago. So you start cultivating that relationship. And here's one thing that I just learned on accident was for first couple of years I had one private lender, and then one became 2, and then my list came 3 or 4, and we started adding to the list. And we would email a deal out anytime we needed funding. I was texting at first, and they were like, man, it's too many texts. So then we started emailing. And then this was just going back 17, 18 years ago, I guess, at this point. We got our first email server, like Aweber, MailChimp, or whatever it was. And so we moved our private lender list to do out an email blast. Before it was just through Gmail. And so we started making it a system like, hey, rather than send these texts and all these individual emails, anytime we have a deal, here's a little template. And so we'd blast out that email to all of our lenders. And so we've been doing that for 7-8 months. I don't know how long it was, for quite a while. And it was worked great. We'd send out an email list. We'd have 5-10 lenders respond back. Hey, I'm interested. Tell me more. I want to do it. And it has never failed us since. Like never. So start with nothing. I've never not been able to deal because of money. And I'll just tackle that real quick. Is if your excuse is you don't have money, you don't have to raise hands. But people always say, I can't invest in real estate because I don't have any money. I always laugh at that and say, you realize I got into real estate because I didn't have any money and I saw some books that you could do real estate without any money. Like literally the number one excuse in real estate was my number one reason to do it. I never saw a book like, hey, invest in the stocks with no money. Maybe that book exists. I just never saw it. And so I'm like, I saw multiple books of real estate saying, you can invest in real estate, no money. I have no money. Sign me up. So when it came to, our lenders, we started putting out these email blasts. And then if you have an email server, you can go back and look and see the open rate. Like how many times people are, if they're even opening it, if they're clicking, all this kind of stuff. I didn't even know this stuff existed. And back, because it was our first time we had this email thing. I wasn't just dealing with that. So 7-8 months into it, I can't remember what it was. I started playing around with that. I was like, holy crap. And a lot of these people were like opening up every single email. And there's one particular guy, every time we'd send an email blast, he was opening up these emails like 10 or 15 times. Every single email. And I didn't even know who this guy was. I don't know how he got on my list. And about 6 months, 7-8 months later, whatever it was, he eventually said yes. And so just doing what you do, if you're doing deals, like just talking about it or emailing it out, do a quick video. That's all the marketing you have to do. When I'm saying you're doing educate, like just do deals and start putting them out there. And I realized like just putting out the email blast was a form of marketing, and it was also credibility, right? My lenders knew it wasn't, hey, I got a deal once a year, that's maybe a deal. It's like, no, we got 3 to 5 deals a month, and you're seeing them.
Yep. Yeah, lack of money is never an excuse for not doing a deal. Like even jet lending, like deal works, they've got your money. So build your private money list and continue to build relationships with other lenders, especially hard money lenders.
Now, if your lenders are telling you no, if your hard money lenders are telling you no, it may not be a deal.
And that's a good reason to use, because you're going back, you did hard money early on. I did hard money early on just because you don't know what you don't know. And they're a tremendous resource because they haven't done just a dozen deals or a year or whatever. They do hundreds of deals every single year. In the case of jet lending, thousands of deals. The owner himself has flipped a couple thousand houses, plus all the loans that they've done. They know what they're doing. And when they're saying, hey, we can only loan you this much because we think this and this, well, there's a reason for that. And it's not that they don't want to loan you money. It's they want to make sure that if they loan you money and you screw it up, like there's actually still a good deal for them to take back. And I jokingly say that in the sense that they're actually looking out for your interest. And if you want to overpay for it, they're just only going to loan you based on the fundamentals. But if you buy within the fundamentals, they'll loan you up to 100%. No money down deals.
Yeah.
All right. So you moved into mobile home park investing. How'd you get into that?
I guess it's in my blood, man. I don't know. Used to live in a mobile home. So one of my partners, he started investing in mobile homes before I did. And this is going many, many years back. And he started telling me he started mentioning things about it. And I'm like, that's cute. David's a redneck, so I'll let him play around the mobile homes. And I'm too busy to mess with those. Kind of get a little snooty, turning my nose up at these mobile homes. And then I just got curious one day. I asked him, tell me about one of your deals. So he told me about one of the deals, and he was buying land and sometimes mobile homes at auction. And he's kind of in the rural area, so he'd buy land for $5,000 to maybe $20,000, and he'd put a $10,000 or $15,000 mobile home on it, maybe. So it'd be in the deal for $35,000, $40,000, and he would sell it typically with owner financing for like $100, maybe $115, maybe $85, whatever. I'm like,
good numbers.
Yeah, those are pretty good numbers. So I'm going to do that as well. So I'm like, all right, you're onto something here. Man, when it comes to the mobile home parks, I don't know. I'll tell you, I'm very risk adverse, believe it or not. Like when I say like we've done whatever, 500 plus deals with 100% track record, a lot of it's hard work. There's been some luck, I'm not going to lie. Smoke and mirrors in the beginning. It's like, how do I do this? And just back up against the wall. But it's also been like we've been pretty good about sticking to some fundamentals 80 or 90% of the time. Sometimes we take shots. Sometimes those work out, sometimes they don't. But we've been very, very good about investing in medium price housing and below, making sure that we have multiple exit strategies with our deals, whether we're just not like a one exit strategy only, like one trick pony. I've put myself in that corner before doing some high end stuff in the Heights whenever oil and gas was tanking and just couldn't give houses away for a little bit. And these were very expensive homes. So it's a very painful financial lesson. So I've always kind of stayed in this medium price housing and below area. So, and one, I've just been drawn to it. Two, I think it's just like I see a lot of people get wealthy that way, more so than like luxury markets and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm just going to do this. And I gravitate to blue collar or hardworking folks and all that kind of stuff. So I think that was part of it. I was never drawn to the apartment model. I like I had about 50 rentals in the beginning, and I just didn't enjoy that many renters in my life. Just to be honest with you, it just created a lot of headaches. Even had a full-time assistant manage them. There's just like a lot of inherent headaches there. And I started flipping houses. I was like, this is great. And then I began owner financing a few years later, and I was owner financing a lot of properties to like my contractors and guys like that. And that was really my favorite thing. I would say like, hey, if I had to pick one thing, I would just do owner financing. Because it gave me a little bit of like the fix and flip thing. We got equity, we got cash flow. There's some, ways depending on your taxes, some tax benefits and things like that. There's a couple downsides, but I'm like, I really liked it. And I was always, I was a little bit too scared to take on an apartment deal. We went under some contract on some deals, but at the end of the day, I'm like, man, I didn't get into real estate. Like, honestly, I didn't get real estate to get make a bunch of money and get wealthy. Like, I hated my job. And when I got into real estate investing, it was like, I wanted to quit my job and just do something I enjoyed. Like this idea of becoming, multimillionaire and getting rich and all this kind of stuff. That was like, all right, if that happens, that'd be great. I just want to wake up in the morning and like enjoy what I do. And so real estate did that for me. And I was like, it started working. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, it's nice to have money and get rich and all that stuff too. And so as I'm progressing along, build my business, and I started looking at mobile homes, it was, for me, I was just drawn to it. I started looking at apartments and I was like, man, if I go, raise X amount of millions of dollars and go to this big deal, if it goes sideways, which we've seen happen, I don't think I can fix that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just beyond my control. And I don't want to ever have to pick up the phone and call my lenders and say, I can't pay your money back because the deal was just too big and whatever happened. So I've always been afraid of that. Single family, I'm like, I feel like I can control that, right? If I stick to solid fundamentals, low risk, high reward. Like, I ingrain that into my students' heads. I say it all the time. Low risk, high reward. Low risk, high reward. So I started looking at mobile home parks. I was like, this is low risk and potentially very high reward. And it was a very scalable model. And it allowed me to basically get the things that I wanted out of it financially, low risk, high reward. Owning real estate, also income, passive income, recurring income, while at the same time really working with the people that I enjoy working with the most, which is homeowners, like, low, middle to low income people who just want like a good, safe place to raise their family. So I was kind of instantly drawn to mobile home parks. It's been a hell of a ride. I'm not going to lie. The last, almost 5 years. But it's been fun. My wife's taken part in it. She's, you threw that picture up there. We just got back. We have a park in Illinois. We were up there this weekend. My wife's taken kind of a customer service role. She's great on the phones. Don't care to do that. And she loves talking to people and establishing relationships. So we're up there this weekend and hung around the mobile home park for a few days, met the people and, worked with contractors and did a little pizza party and just salted there with people, man. We love them, some more than others. And it's just a good investment if you buy them right and you're willing to do the work it requires. That's kind of the long answer to how it's happened and transpired.
So what does anybody know the median home price in Houston? What the July, I don't remember what the July report said.
Too much?
How much? 450?
No way.
No, I was thinking 420s. 434. Yeah, so and that's Houston. Like, I don't even know what it's like in places like Miami or say West Coast. With that context in mind, like, and to put that in perspective, pre-COVID, it was in the twos, like upper twos. Like I remember when we got started. Well, you've been investing a little bit longer than me, but like it was in the upper like 180, 190, like 220-ish during most of my flipping career. So now we're looking in the fours. What impact do you see mobile homes having on the affordability crisis.
Yeah,
Especially over the next few years. Like,
so that was the other thing with mobile homes was, you go back when I started in 2007, mid 2008 crash, 2009 bottom, and then every year it's gone up 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I'm like, this is great. This is great. This is great. This is great. 15, 16, 17, 18. It keeps going up. And 2018, I'm saying this is not great. Like, we need a correction. This is getting out of hand. 2019, COVID hits. Now it's going to go down, and then it skyrockets up. And I'm like, this is not good. And even like around 2017, 2018, like what my comfort zone, $150,000 to $250,000, our sweet spot, was evaporating. It kept going up and up and up. And with me being risk adverse, I'm like, man, what is this gonna do to my business? Because I don't know if I'm gonna feel comfortable going around and flipping $400,000 or $500,000 homes. I don't care what the interest rates are. Don't like doing it. And because when you really get into the numbers of flipping homes, like, a lot of things have to go right when you start flipping high-end homes, just because your hold time, your insurance costs, your taxes, and those have all skyrocketed.
Holding costs will eat you alive.
It's just crazy. And so I was like, man, people aren't going to be, so it was around 2018, 2019, I'm like, people aren't going to be able to afford houses much longer. Like the middle to low income people, they're just not going to be able to afford houses. I didn't know all this inflation and this craziness was going to happen I didn't know all that. But I was like, there's probably going to be something to mobile homes. That was what I felt was going to happen and become reality. It's just happened way quicker than I thought. Way quicker than I thought. So for me, a mobile home is basically the American dream for some people. Okay. It is the American dream. So my kids are kind of sheltered, and I'm proud of that because I went through some hard times as a kid. My kids have known like private school and all this kind of stuff. So they're a bit sheltered. And, they hear things, they see things. And it was at one of the parks, this park, Pineland, a couple weeks ago, and that was on the screen. And as we were putting up the new sign. And it was I don't know what it is. I think it's a 1998 mobile home, single wide, and under rehab. Nothing fancy here. Original countertops. They were blue, and this blue vinyl tile were, we were going to do some new flooring, minor things, and then we do essentially like a lot of lease to own kind of stuff. And my daughter, overheard the phone call. I was on speaker, and she heard the phone call. And this lady had just saw the house after it got painted, and the flooring wasn't installed yet, but she saw the flooring there, and you would think she was, at whatever, the Taj Mahal. She's like, oh my God, it looks so great. Like, I can't wait to see this flooring. Oh, I'm just like, I'm in tears. I'm so happy. And I'm like, it just made me proud, right? And so there's people like that need to be served. And in the mobile home space, there's a lot of slumlords and things like that. And so I just saw it as an opportunity. And we take shots sometimes. People ask us the mobile home. Someone left a voicemail the other day, and they were complaining because we sent their sister a letter to mow her yard because we do hold them to a higher standard. And she's like, I'm calling about the Whispering Pines mobile home trash park. so we're dealing with that with certain people and stigmas and things like that, but not at our parks, man. Like, we're really making these nice, safe, affordable communities, while at the same time they're a good investment for us, right, and our investors.
So before we get into like the final questions, like this housing crisis, like, it's not going anywhere. Inflation may be coming down. As far as housing is concerned, not so much.
Yeah.
And the barriers to solving that problem Like, we're not even close. We just don't have enough homes being built. We're so far behind, and we don't even have the infrastructure to start to catch up. And it's going to take a while. Or some black swan event. I mean, that definitely could happen. For folks that are looking to get into mobile home park investing, like, any advice on that?
I mean, proven fundamentals work, and find what those are and do them. Okay. So one of the other reasons that, and I failed to mention this when it came to like what attracted me to mobile home park investing was, just constant pursuit of like learning, growing, things like that. And I was, had learned about Sam Zell. Sam Zell's like the least known real estate investor. Like every time I ask people, have you heard about Sam Zell? Like barely anybody's heard of Sam Zell. And so Sam Zell is basically like the Michael Jordan of real estate investing. Not the LeBron James, like the Michael Jordan. Little joke there. See what I'm doing there? This is Michael Jordan, y'all. Come on now. Come on, let's go. Don't even give me this LeBron stuff. Dealing with that with one of my kids. I'm like, this is a Jordan family, my son. So Sam's the GOAT. Okay, you name multiple areas of real estate, and he's just dominated. And I heard a story from Sam Zell. And so Sam was always low risk, high reward. He did skyscrapers, he did shopping malls, he did apartments, he did land, you name it, and he did it on a grand scale. It was bigger than anybody else. And the funny story was that they were taking over a company. They were buying a company, doing a buyout. And I think it was a $60 or $70 million company, something like that. So they're going through the balance sheet of this company, and this company happened to own a mobile home park somehow. I don't know why that is, but probably a real estate company. And so he called one of his guys in. He said, I need you to fly out and take a look at this park and figure out what we need to do to get rid of it. And so he sent the guy out. The guy goes and does his due diligence, and this is the mid-'80s, and comes back. And he's like, you're not going to believe this. And Sam's like, it's worse than we thought, And he's like, no, it's an ATM machine. Things like just printing cash. And he's like, I think we need to keep it. And they did keep it. And in a very short period of time, went on to become by far the largest owner of mobile home parks, in the country. And I don't want to butcher the numbers of how many like something like 100,000 pads that they owned or something like insane amount. And at the time of his Sam Zell's book, Sam Zell passed away, I think it was last year. At the time of this book, right, like they had never sold a mobile home park. So you look at all the other assets that he held, skyscrapers, commercial buildings, shopping malls, apartments, and he had sold at least percentages of his assets in all those other asset classes, but he had never sold a mobile home park. And when I read that, and I'd already been doing some research, Warren Buffett owned Clayton Homes, and I'm like, Warren Buffett's in the space. Sam Zell's the largest, and he's never sold one. I'm like, I just have to do that. So to answer, long-winded way to answer your question is just like figure out what's proven, right? So I don't know about you guys, like I acknowledge like I'm not very smart. So I like to see what has worked, what's worked well, and just follow in those steps. So you're not going to reinvent the wheel. If you're really, there's a small percentage of people I think that are crazy that want to go into mobile home park investing. But if you do, look up Mobile Home University. That's a great resource for information. Just do what's been proven to work, man. It's not easy. Okay. I'm not like, I don't like to sugarcoat and paint the picture. And two, just talking about the market, because I haven't done a lot of speaking lately, just do a ton, very little. For those of you who've been, investing the last couple of years, or you're new to the market, it's much more difficult in today's market than it has been in the past. So if you're going through some hard times, you're going through some struggles, that's kind of probably what you should be going through here. Now, continue to analyze what's working and what's not working. And everything is cyclical. Like there's just been some inherent things that made this market really hard. But it's like it's creating opportunities right before our eyes. Like at the same time, it's creating opportunities right before our eyes. We bought a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home in the suburbs worth $235,000 a couple weeks ago for $15,000. It's crazy. It did have a bit of storm damage, I'm not gonna lie, but not that big of an amount. So there's creating opportunities. Just know like that if it's worth it. If your goal and your vision like really means something to you, stick with it. I'm just thinking about my son real quick. So my son's 20. He's trying to be a professional boxer. Every now and then he complains. Not too much. I'd be complaining a lot more if I were him. But he has his down moments, right? It's like really hard what he's doing. And I kind of am not a very empathetic father when it comes to complaining or whining. And I tell him all the time, I'm like, dude, it's supposed to be hard. Like you literally signed up to have people punch you in the face, man. Like that's one of the hardest things you could ever like want to do. What were you expecting? I know. Shut up and go hit the road, like go hit the bag, whatever, get after it. And it's like that way in business. And, principles will serve you well, fundamentals will serve you well. But also what I found is when it comes to investing and when it comes to business, like you just got to be willing to fight. Like you got to be willing to fight. I was talking to somebody, we were talking, right? I don't want to say names, but someone's got a lawsuit and I'm like, don't feel bad. I've got about 3 lawsuits going on right now. I did nothing wrong. We're going to win all of them. It's just like people want to sue over like stupid stuff these days. And I'm like, all right. At first I was like discouraged. I was stressed out. Now I'm like, bring it on. Like, let's freaking go. Knowing that we didn't do anything wrong. It's a crazy world. It's a different world that we live in now. You do have to be more careful, man. I'm, concerned about the future. And so now more than ever, it's like, man, really this low risk, high reward thing, it's a little bit trickier equation to find what is going to meet that criteria. Okay, it really, really is. I know a lot of people are waiting until November to see what happens. I know a lot of big developers we've spoken to because we're developing some land. They're waiting. They're not putting money into this market. They're like specifically waiting to see what happens. If the election goes a certain way, floodgates are going to open up. Like this is coming from big companies, corporations just waiting to see what happens. And we'll see. And so it'll either go this way, it'll go that way. If it goes this way, there'll be certain opportunities that open up. It may be easier. If this way it goes this way, there'll be other opportunities that open up, maybe harder. I don't know. We'll just have to see what it is. But I know I'll be buying mobile homes and mobile home parks one way or another. I guarantee that.
All right. Closing out, there's 4 questions I ask everyone. Start with number 1. If you could give advice to your 20-year-old self, what would that be?
Man, my 20-year-old self.
Just yesteryear.
Yeah. Oh, dude. He was so no clarity, no vision. Just set some goals and go after them. I just literally, I spent my 20s, I was very, very, like I had no goals and had no clarity. I didn't start figuring things out until I was in my 30s, So figure out what you want to do, set some goals and just go for it, especially at that young age. And time, if you start young, time is on your side. And the more you delay, the less time is on your side. So I would say that. And I would also, for you real estate folks out there, is find ways to hold on to more properties. I didn't like rentals. They burned me out. And so I sold a few more than I would have preferred to sell. So you got to figure out some ways to weather some storms. And you start building up assets, and it's kind of easy, like, let me just go sell something and get some cash in. figure out some ways to weather those storms. I almost sold a park recently, and I'm glad I didn't. I'm like, I would have been kicking myself because I need to sell it when interest rates are low, when the market is right, when I can maximize that full value of that asset. Now's not the time.
What book or books have greatly influenced your life?
So when it comes to real estate stuff, Rich Dad Poor Dad was changed my life. That really changed my life. Coincidentally, the time when I had never read like any self-development books. I was not a reader. So when I read that book, I had just, vicariously found a Tony Robbins CD set at Barnes & Noble. Barnes & Noble is like this store for you young folks, and you went there and you bought a physical book. It's like crazy. Yeah. And like my kids like, my son said this one time, he's like, Dad, forget what it was. He's like, did they have these in the 19s? And I was like, God. Pop. But so when I was listening to Rich Dad Poor Dad, I was like, oh, I understand. Kiyosaki was great at making maybe complicated things seem easy to swallow. And then I combined that with Tony Robbins getting that mindset stuff. So that was just like, so I would invest heavily, in reading educational books and business books, but you got to combine that with mindset stuff, because you can have all the book knowledge in the world and strategy knowledge, but if you don't have kind of that warrior's mindset and that mentality and that vision, that vision's that's gonna trump all the knowledge in the world. It's gonna trump it. Period.
In the last 5 years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life?
It hasn't been in the last 5 years, but if I go back a little bit further than that, I was going through a period of time where I was really successful in the business world, and I was letting some other things in my life fall the wayside. Certain relationships, my wife and God, those being the biggest two. And I thought if I could just make a bunch of money, that some things I wouldn't have to deal with, that would solve all these, issues. And it didn't work out that way. And my wife and somebody else let me know it wasn't going to work out that way. And so put the priorities first. Okay. So for me, it's my faith in God, my calling, my relationships with my wife and other loved ones, my health and my fitness. Finances are last. Yeah, we may spend most time doing things that put money in our bank account. I get it. But it doesn't mean that we can't invest in those areas of our life each and every day. And they don't have to be long time investments, but invest in those areas, begin with that end in mind. So at the same time, you can have financial success while at the same time honoring God and your principles and your calling, the relationships in your life. You don't have to neglect your health and fitness. You can essentially have all those things and the finances at the same time. I see so many people in business, sadly, a lot of good friends of mine, like they sacrifice all those things to create wealth. And I'm like, you don't have to, there's other options, right? And you don't have to sacrifice all those things just to have one. Like you can have this, I don't like using the word balance, because I work, still to this day, I'll work really long and hard. I love to work and I enjoy making money. I love real estate. I love building businesses. I really, really do. I just love my family more. But then they know that I'm a worker. I will work until the day that I die. But I've found ways where I can invest in honor them at the same time, right? And so you don't have to sacrifice and burn those bridges to the ground. So I say, I'll have people make a bunch of money, and there's that divorce, there's that heart attack. And I'm like, no. So that's what I learned years ago through going through some tough situations.
Yeah, since you mentioned Tony Robbins, that's the only reason why I want to mention this. So he illustrates, and I know you've seen this, he illustrates it like a wheel. So, if you got faith, family, fitness, finances, spokes in a wheel, like in a perfect world, you're going 100 miles down life, the life highway, and your wheel is a perfect circle. So you're smooth, nice smooth sailing. Life's not that way. It's gonna be a little bumpy. Problem is when one area is very deficient, that's like an entire spoke is gone or on the verge of like breaking. Now at 100 miles an hour, everything breaks and crashes down. Anyway, I just want to point that out. Q&A. Do you have any questions? Should we open up for Q&A? Good.
I have a question.
You got a question? All right. Hey, we got at least one question. You were the first one. You broke the ice last time. Yeah.
Hey, Brant. Thank you for coming out tonight. I'm kind of an aspiring mobile home investor as well. I own single-family rentals currently. Definitely wanting to move from that to some bigger things, getting kind of burned out of that. So you kind of answered my question, but what is your strategy around mobile home parks? Are you more for the land and the rent, or do you actually own the homes and rent them out, or are you creating notes?
We're creating notes. Simple answer. We have some that we inherited that are rented, and some markets we'll put things for sale or for lease, but we are very lease to own folks move to the front of the line, but we're not going to let a property sit too long if we have some good qualified applicants. So it's a depreciating asset. Although, we have some mobile homes that are like 50 years old that are well taken care of, that they will last a long, long, long time. But they're not well taken care of. They won't, just like a single family home. But we like to hold the land and then sell or finance the homes. Our ultimate goal is everyone owns their home, so our expenses are really low when it comes to maintenance, and it's a big parking lot.
Who else?
I got in late, so if you already discussed this, I apologize ahead of time, but I'd heard that, or I was told, in private lending, you're supposed to have a minimum of 3 conversations before you can really get into the logistics of borrowing money. Is there any truth to that?
Are you talking about
SEC was
the
mentioned.
sales psychology? Is that you're talking about, the sales psychology, or SEC?
I think he's referring to
Oh, you're
legal.
talking about an established relationship rule. Okay. So I don't know about the 3 rule, right? Because if this person, you have a mutual acquaintance or a friend or something like that, I don't know. But the other reason why I think it's a great question. Another reason why it's really important for your follow-ups to get that contact information and put them on some type of email list so that it does begin to establish that relationship. What's equal or more important than that, and talk to an attorney, but is how they found you, right? Did they find you because you met at a networking event? No, then that's free game. If you were posting and making a solicitation, that's a whole different thing. I see so many people, if the SEC, and I'm sure they do it, but they can go on social media all day long and just, pick out people to prosecute. Nope, here's a violation, there's a violation, there's just these Houston groups alone, there's I'm like, oh God, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. So I be careful with that. This is a simple workaround. I teach this to my students, do not do that. You make a little YouTube video, talk about what is private lending 101. Here's an example of a house flip using private money, and just talk about the deal. You can do that all day long. Yeah, whether the rule of 3, I don't know.
Yeah, and to chime in a little bit on that, so Brant's definitely right. You can definitely check with an attorney. But as far as syndications, funds, large deals, there's something called an accredited investor, meaning they meet a certain financial threshold. And then there's non-accredited investors who may be sophisticated, meaning they're not accredited, but they know what they're doing because they've done some stuff. So if you want to bring someone who's non-accredited in, that requires and it's a certain type of deal, like a 506B, then that would require a pre-existing relationship. In the context of private money lending, and again, not legal advice, talk to the SEC attorney, and my experience, my understanding in the context of a private money loan, loans are securities, but there's certain exemptions, and you can go read them. And a one-to-one relationship. I'm buying this house. I need 150 grand. You've got 150 grand. Attorney draws up a lender docs. You're a first lien position. There's no other parties. Just you and my company. That's it. I can do that all day long. Now, if I'm starting to offer equity position and you're going to get Vivian and Justin back there and you're all going to pull money together, that's where things get a little different and might be getting in some boundaries that it's going to require a different structure. Different laws may apply. Be careful there. But one-to-one should be good. Pay the money, let an attorney know what you're doing, just so you stay clear. Yep. And also for everyone, you have federal and you have state security laws. A lot of overlap, a lot of extra stuff.
Yeah.
And they don't care if you're a newbie. They don't care if you've been
Yeah.
doing hundreds of millions of dollars of deals. If you're in violation, and usually how that stuff, from what I understand from attorneys, usually how that stuff unfolds is someone gets harmed, meaning you lost some money, complaints come in, now they start digging, but they don't care. Like, if you violate those laws, they can be very severe. So, but I know what I've done with the 200-something flips that we've done with individual private money lenders. I feel comfortable doing those all day long. I also have I have a fund that's completely different. Different conversations, different paperwork, different disclosures, night and day difference.
When you do in flips, usually you invest inviting investors. How you put that together to invite them in to buy the flips, or they buy the flip and you do the remo? How you structure that, organize that?
Well, a majority, when I say majority, 99%, all of our flips have always just been, it's a lender it's a lending relationship. So we're the buyer, we're the borrower, they're loaning money to us on the deal. We do everything, and they're just a lender. Early on when I was buying rentals, I was doing some in a partnership. Okay, my second year, I started doing some small partnerships to buy rentals. And we've done syndications on land deals like Chris was talking about. But so we don't do a lot of like partnership things. But here's the thing when it comes to private lenders, real estate, like I always say that private lending is the way that we do it is it's relationship based lending. And in the beginning, for me, that was a handshake agreement. We would agree on something, outline terms, and then it would be taken to a real estate attorney who knew what they were doing, and everything would be done by the letter of the law. No deed of trust, title company closing. No one's ever giving funds to me. Everything goes to a title company. Okay. There's a few exceptions to that with some collateral loans and different structures that we do. So that's how we always do things. So if you're saying, hey, are you wanting to like partner with some people on some flips? Yeah. So talk to these people, gauge their interest, and then you work out an agreement and kind of write down in general what, your terms are, what your agreement is, who's doing what, this and that, outline that out. Then you take it to your real estate attorney and make sure everything's done the right way. Because just to emphasize what Chris was saying earlier, I've seen a lot of shady stuff. There are a lot of shady people in the world. Okay, it's sad to say, but there's people out there looking to kill, steal, destroy, and just take advantage of it.
And bad deals really will test character. So seemingly good people in bad times can change.
Yeah. And with all of our deals, we always we use a real estate attorney, do things the right way. And it's more expensive. And oh my God, I hate talking about it, but one of my most painful deals ever was we were building some houses in the Heights, and it was painful. Oh my God, it was so bad. Worst, this deal took years off my life. And so one of my partners in this deal, and we took some L's. Okay, we took some losses, and our lenders didn't even know about the problems. I don't tell my lenders typically about problems. I mean, if they're just a lender, like they get their payments, and if they ask, I'll tell them. I've had that happen with lenders. Like, hey, how'd this deal go? I'm like, I think we lost $20,000. Oh, I didn't know that. And I'm like, Why would you want to know that? You got your money. And then sometimes like, oh, we made $100,000, you know, if they ask. Well, my partner and I, so we're in a couple syndications right now on some land development deals. So these deals have not gone the way that we planned. Just, they have not. Okay, the world's changed a lot in the last 3 years since we bought the properties. And so we're buying this like mid-COVID and like, you know, pivoting. And so we had an investor meeting last week. And a couple of our investors, they had their opinions, maybe called character into question. And I didn't appreciate it. And my partner didn't appreciate it. And so we held an investor meeting like, let's have a meeting and talk about what's going on. And so we just laid everything out like, here was the intentions, here's what happened, here's what we're doing, here's the 10 things that we've been working on that we don't really bother them with, except like with quarterly update. And most of them are like, oh God, we didn't know. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for doing this. But at the same time, I know what they don't know was like me and my partner having this meeting, and I'm like, I know how he operates when his back's against the wall. So we have a very, very just calm confidence that we're going to work through this. And pretty much all of our investors are like, thank you so much. I understand. I get it. Like, and nobody's like asking out of the deal after that meeting. So just be open and honest with them and up front. And then also when you're having those conversations, talk about the risks. Talk about the downside on the front side. Talk about the down more than the upside. And that was a big eye-opener for me when we first did our first syndications. And we're putting together the PPM with our attorney. It's like every bad thing in the world that could possibly happen, even some things that couldn't even possibly happen, it's even the PPM. And it's basically to scare the hell out of your investors. So if they still sign, you know they really want in the deal, right? So I like to like over disclose and almost like try to talk them out of investing. So if they don't do it, then that's okay. But if they do at least if things go bad, then you know what to expect. But you still perform. That's the thing. Is like, hey, we're performing here, and like you're gonna get hopefully the return that we projected and possibly even higher. Like, okay, we see that now. But just be honest. But we were honest. Like, this isn't what we had planned. We've had to pivot here, and this is what our pivots look like.
Also, with partners, a partnership is a marriage, but it's a temporary marriage that you already know that going in. At some point, you will get divorced. You want it to be very kind, where you're still friends afterwards, where you can go to an event and bump into each other and be like, man, that was a good deal, or man, that was a really rough one. Glad we were able to get through it. So having those conversations, and one, choosing carefully, and then having those thorough conversations where you kind of outline if this, then this, is definitely very, very careful.
It's like a prenup.
Yeah, it's, I guess so. All right, well, one more question. Anyone?
Do you want to share about cost plus and what you do with the construction?
I can, yeah. So one of the things, we have a construction company called Cost Plus Construction, and I didn't realize this till I was like early 30s. I'm like kind of serial entrepreneur here. I didn't even realize that. And so I've had a couple of different construction companies that we've operated over the years. I started building out my team of contractors, and then my hard money lender said, man, you guys are really good. You think about doing this for other people. I'm like, no, I haven't, but I need to make some money here. So we put together a company called Rent Ready Contractors. Did really, really well for many years. And then I parted ways with my partner, who's my construction manager, and we did our own thing under our Invest Home Pro company. Well, a couple years ago, I decided to rebrand it and fix some problems that we had, honestly, like internally. Because like you're dealing with contractors, and you're doing like big turnkey remodels, which used to be $20,000 to $30,000 on average. Now they're like $100,000, and for not much more work than they used to be for $30,000. Crazy. But one of the difficult parts is, handling change orders, the pricing, keeping up with all the costs and things like that. And so what I've always did on my own projects, and even whenever I had, my construction companies, I was always treated like a client. I mean, I used the same guys, the same project managers, same everything. I was just a customer of that company, my construction company, if that makes sense. But I was billed differently in the later years. I was billed through cost plus. And it was just like, what is the total? Put a markup on it. Bill. That's real simple. Does that make sense? So a couple years ago, I had, this was around COVID time, and I was working really hard. I was running my events, doing networking, coaching, doing the stuff that we do with EXP, and I was burned out. And I just told my wife, man, I need to take a break. I'm like really burned out. And so this was before COVID, and COVID came right when I was at that time. And I was kind of grateful for it, to be honest with you. She's like, what do you, so I took a list of everything I'm doing. She's like, what do you want to stop? And, the thing that was least exciting to me was construction for third-party clients. I'm like, I think I'm gonna wind that down. So I winded that down. A couple other things I was working on just to focus on, and this I was really starting to focus on mobile home parks. And being an entrepreneur, I got the itch. About a year and a half, 2 years later, I'm like, I kind of want to do construction again. My wife's like, you're crazy. I'm like, well, I don't think we did. I was like, I don't think I did as well as we could have done, and didn't fix some problems, because at the end of the day, we're just a contractor. And I wanted to fix some problems. And when I started brainstorming on this, I was like, what are the problems we need to fix as a company? And then what problems can we help solve for a customer? And I saw Mark Cuban did a Shark Tank thing. I don't know if it was on Shark Tank, but he's a partner in a guy's company that's called Cost Plus Drugs or Cost Plus Pharmaceuticals. And I'm like, that's great. And it's basically like, here's a simple markup, very transparent. Here's the cost of our medication. Here's our markup. That's your price. Very transparent. I'm like, that's already what I was doing with my construction company. So we created cost plus construction so that all the pricing that we do is transparent, right? Rather than saying, hey, we need a $20,000 or $25,000 deposit, and we've all heard stories about customers giving large deposits or payments to contractors, and then they're gone the next day. Everyone's heard those stories. Well, I see things on both sides of the fence. I see contractors who've done $10,000 or $15,000, $20,000 of work, and that customer hangs them out to dry. And I've been on that side of the fence. Like one of my old friends and students hung me for $65,000. Okay, as are my construction company. And like, that's not fun. I don't want that to happen again. So hey, we're going to do very, very low deposits. We're going to do weekly billing, but we only bill when work's done. So whatever material and labor we did the previous week, then you pay the following week. So it's a weekly billing cycle, and you see, okay, it was painting, it was demo, it was trash. So you see what we did, and you just pay for what we do. And then if you don't like us, then it's very easy and painless to say, hey, I think I'm done. You guys aren't progressing fast enough. You don't like, okay, stop. But nobody's getting ahead or too far ahead of each other. So that's what we do in a nutshell. Yeah, so that's what cost plus construction is.
Awesome. All right.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Or put something out? So, yeah, so I mentioned like, I used to do a lot of teaching, speaking, all that kind of stuff, and took a long time off from it, to be honest. And I'm just hard charging entrepreneur. And to be honest, like I'm pretty quiet, keep to myself kind of guy. But I like motivating people and inspiring and things like that. I really, really do. But I don't like playing like the social media game so much. I've done it at times. At times I've done it a lot, and I just don't like it. Just to be honest with you. But at the same time, it's necessary in today's world to a certain extent to get your message out there, to work with people, and to make an impact. I just don't want to do it. So I'm looking for someone to do that for me. Okay. So I am looking for somebody to be an apprentice, okay, to shadow with me for the next 12 months. And this person is that I'm looking for is likely, like there's not a clear mold, but likely if you happen to be this person or you're someone who may be interested, is going to be a young male, no offense females, but this person will be traveling with me, staying in hotels, RVs, mobile homes, like traveling the world, doing deals by my side, recording, sharing, helping me do a lot of the marketing, just share the message that I want to share. And so this person's going to see everything that we do, the good, the bad, the ugly, because I need someone just documenting it and recording it, because my life is sometimes, like, I want to share it. Like sometimes honestly it's a shit show, but it's also just incredibly entertaining. Like I could tell you stories in the last week, being with these mobile home people, and having 5 kids and just doing the stuff that we do. It's like insane.
Let's
and
make that a whole episode.
Yeah, like it's just it's crazy. So I'm
Mobile Home
looking
Park
for
Diaries.
I'm looking for somebody who wants to really, really learn. I want to teach them everything I know in a year. Okay, and they'll see how to raise money, how to do deals, how to analyze deals, how to solve problems, how to invest in mobile homes, and we'll see where it goes after a year. My thoughts are either one, they just go and invest and start their company, or maybe I'll partner with them. I don't know, but I'm looking for, I think, 12-month apprenticeship, and then I want to keep this going. Is my vision that I'm having right now, because I've been putting it off for too long and doing it because I just don't have the time or desire to do it. And I'm like, that's a poor excuse. I tell my kids, my students all the time, like, stop being lazy. Ask yourself the question, how can you get it done when you feel like you can't? There's always, you just got to ask a better question. Question's how. So my how is like, how can I get this done? And so I'm looking for that person. So I'm putting that out into the universe here for the first time tonight, publicly, that I'm looking for that person. So if you know somebody, let me know.
Awesome.